Okay, so in the previous lesson, we have already established the animation and we put the hero chair in. In this course, we're going to be talking about how to set up the camera animation and construct the whole like sort of a cockpit environment using the chair asset. Just duplicate it and flip-flop it. Just rotate and use piece here and piece there to just to create this whole environment. In this final version, I didn't add the actual camera shake on itself, but in this lesson, we're going to be adding the camera shake in 3D instead of 2D. So if you still remember, we talked about the Maya camera rigging system. We're going to be using the same rigging system in this. We're going to be using the same rigging system in this shot. And if you look at the final shot, it's like the camera sort of orbiting around the character a little bit. And so what we need to do is we just move the pivot of the first layer to where the face of the character is, and then we just pull the camera back a little bit, and then we rotate the top layer just to make the camera sort of orbiting around our hero. Let me just create another viewport so we can see through the camera. Okay, now let's rotate the top layer. As you can see, we now have a little simple orbiting motion. As you can see, the final length for this shot is around 35 to 50. It's not a super wide shot or a long shot. So let's go to right now it says 35. Let's probably go to let's try 40. Let's try 40. How it looks at 40. I just want to compress the space a little bit more because 35 looks a little bit too boring. Now we move the top layer a little bit just to make the character a little biased to the screen right. As you can see, the camera is actually start from horizontal to the character and then end up with a little bit looking up. So if we probably need to pull back the camera a little bit, it looks a little bit tight. I'm just right now to try to recreate what I had in the final version. Probably I won't get 1:1, but it's the same concept. It's the same idea, basically. So if I start somewhere around here, maybe it looks like a pretty good angle. So the final version, I have about 300 frames. So let me just set up the shot around 300 frames right now. Okay, let's start keying the camera. Let's start with the camera looking straight on at the character, and we can just move it up a bit. That's just to key the rotation and translation for now, and as the shot goes on, we rotate the camera to a little bit like a quarter from the back, looking at the screen, but we also see over the shoulder of the character. Let's open the graph editor for now. Set up to display normalize. We just need to put the tangent into linear because we don't want to get a feeling that the camera ramps up as if the director says action, or maybe when the camera ends, the camera slows down gradually. We want to just do, when we cut into the shot, the camera already moving at a linear speed. So we're getting close to the final version. We may need to add some extra camera motion. Let's go to the last frame. We may need to rotate a bit more, or actually let's actually I still feel like the camera might be a touch too close. We may need to pull the camera a touch further, so we're not like boxed by the screen and the character. That's pretty much the motion overall. Maybe I need to increase the tilt up a little bit. Okay, now I want to add another layer of the Z rotation, because if you see the final one, the horizon line start with flat and end up a little bit tilt. So we can add a little bit camera Z rotation to break the horizon line a little bit, just to give it a shot a little bit more dynamic. Because once you roll the camera, the shot looks dynamic already. It's the same thing, we just add to the camera itself. So we only have to worry about one channel at a time. This is a good thing. Again, this is a good thing just to separate the motion into different layers, so you don't have to worry about everything in one place. So pretty much this is like a camera move for this shot in the final. We start from the side and from profile, and then end up there a little bit three quarters actually. And last step is to add our favorite camera shake. Still, we're gonna use the same camera shake script. Shake layer to our final render camera itself, so it will just give the camera 2 extra locators to add the shake. And we go to the shake control layer and add a little bit of I would say I will add a little bit rotation, because if we add a translation, it doesn't really help much in this case, because the camera is not really close to the character. Even though we added a translation, it won't show much. Again, remember I talked about how to add a sphere in the storyboard lesson, so we now add a sphere and put it into wireframe so we can see the camera's rotation a little bit better. Maybe we need to boost up the shake a little bit more, maybe the frequency as well as the amplitude. Okay, this might be a little bit too much. I think we just lower the amplitude to 3. That's not bad. It gives a nice floaty look. And because the spaceship is like flying, and maybe there will be some turbulence. It's, again, this is a very subjective process. Depends on how much you want the camera shake to be in there. But it's just to keep scene clean, and just to keep the scene tight, and separate the camera motion separate the camera motion into 3 layers, so you have the extra control, and just to keep it clean. There are a couple ways to actually add a camera shake. You can either add in 3D and render it out, or sometimes we can add the camera shake in 2D in Nuke after. Last step, after the camera animation is done, the last step is just to duplicate the chair model, so we get a little nice interior structure. So what we need to do, we just need to Control D, duplicate the chair and rotate it 180 degrees and move it to the front to make it look like the how would you call that? Rotate 180 degrees to make it look like the side of the cockpit. And this is just recycling the assets. So if you actually have a better proper cockpit asset, I strongly recommend you use that instead of doing what I'm doing right now. I'm just cutting corners right now because it doesn't really matter much in this shot. We only see a little bit, just to give a little bit extra, just sort of a box the character into a contained space. And we're gonna add some glass material later on, either in lighting or in compositing, so we don't have to worry about adding the glass right now. I kind of want to have another beam. Here, just to break down this giant empty space on the side. Maybe rotate a bit, just move it. Well, actually, maybe did I like rotate it the other way in the final one. Yes, actually I think I might have rotated the other way in the final one, so we get a bit of structure to make it look more intact. So as you can see, this is what I did for the final shot. As long as it works, who cares, right? I think I did another one on the left in the final one, so I just need to duplicate this one more time and rotate to give it a little foreground element. When the camera travels down, we have a little bit of foreground element comes up, just to give this thing a little bit more depth. Yep, maybe like that. I kind of want to see something in the corner just to break the frame, so it doesn't feel like it's a giant empty windshield. Let's play it. Okay, this is the idea. Of course, we can spend more time on this, but this is the general idea. The final step we need to do is to as you can see right now, we actually see his hand, left hand actually penetrating through the handle, so we need to adjust the arms and the hand a little bit more just to avoid the intersection. Just to add a keyframe here and there, just to make sure the hand is resting on top of the geo, not going through it. Maybe here. I just didn't spend time doing the fingers, so we probably need to do the fingers to make the shot looks better. But I have a feeling that whatever we're doing right now to the hand will get cropped if we put the 235 or 240 masks on, so it doesn't really matter that much. It's just because I see I need to get rid of it. Okay, let's just not spend more time on it. And I feel like the shoulder is a little bit, it's like he's shrugging his shoulder. I may need to pull the shoulder back a bit, just so the pose looks more relaxed. That's what I mean by like when you actually set up the camera, we may need to go back to the animation to tweak the pose looking from the camera perspective. Okay, let's just save it. The animation is, let's call the animation done right now. And the next step is let's do a play blast. Let's do a play blast just to check the animation. When I'm doing the play blast, I prefer to use Viewport 2.0 because we can put the ambient occlusion and anti-aliasing on just to make it pretty. Like I said before, in the final one, I use the 235 as the aspect ratio. So now when I'm doing the play blast, I'm going to do the same 235 aspect ratio just to check if something getting cropped, that or just to check that can I just ignore some of the top and bottom pixels, like the hand. I was just doing that right now. Okay, as you can see, we can't really see the hand, so we don't really have to worry about the hand. It's not exactly like the final one because we just did this in like 20 minutes, but again, it's the same, it's the same process. And if you're following this tutorial, you probably can get a better result. Up to now, we talked about how to set up the mocap rig, and then we imported the mocap data, and then we use the animation layer to edit the motion capture data. In this lesson, then, we talked about how to set up the camera motion, adding the camera shake, and duplicate the chair geo, and to construct a sort of interior look. And the last step, after everything is completed, we now need to talk about how to export, aka how to publish this whole shot into Olympic, so we can do the render in 3D Studio Max. So let's just cache out the geo first. Let's cache out the chair geo first. Because the chair is not moving, we only have to cache out the chair one frame, and make sure to check the UV right, world space, and the right visibility. Okay, so we write out the chair for one frame. Let's call it set. And then let's cache out the geo. Let's select the visible geo only, so we don't have extra. We don't take extra space with those hidden geos. And we gonna cache out the whole thing. And just for a better motion blur, we do a half a frame steps. We use 0.5 as the step because when we actually rendering in 3D Studio Max, how the motion blur is generated is it's going to take a quarter of a frame and a quarter frame before the current frame and a quarter frame after the current frame, and generate the motion within this range. And so providing more information by half a frame, it will gives you a better and more accurate motion blur result. And the last step is very important to export the camera, because we use the couple like a camera layer rig and the camera shake script. If we directly export the camera, this might create a problem because the camera resides inside a multi-layer system. What's a good idea is that we can duplicate the camera and take the camera out of the group. Then next step, we snap the camera using a parent constraint back to the original camera. So now the camera outside the group independently has the same animation and the same movement with the original camera. Then we bake out this clean camera, the outside everything. We bake the keys, then we export this camera, so we can make sure the camera that we export has the proper translation, doesn't reside in any group, and when we import back into Studio Max, it saves the same motion as we see here, without any like world space scale issue. And one thing good is one good thing to check is after we bake out the keyframes, we need to go into the graph editor to check if there's any Euler filter issue. If there's any, we need to fix it before we export, otherwise we generate a motion blur issue later on when we render it. So that's pretty much it for the whole process. We started from the rig setup all the way to the camera animation and export. So starting for the next lesson, we're gonna set up the lighting, and we're gonna import the shader that created in the look development, and we're gonna start lighting. We're gonna start creating lighting for this shot. And
purchase genuine tutorial. Enjoy the question answering from course tutor in the long term. Join the exclusive Facebook group and learn from each other. Also, you can sign up with Yihu.com. Search for the course ID. Obtain the full learning courseware, project files. Follow us on Facebook. Get closer to become a master in CG field.